Hey guys, TheAirsoftTech here, and welcome back to Airsoft Tech Talk Q&A. I think by now most of you guys know how it works, but for the new people out there, Airsoft Tech Talk Q&A is basically you guys ask a question, you guys upvote your most favorites, and I answer those most upvoted and most interesting questions. So let's not waste any time, let's jump straight into your all's questions. Oh boy. Anus Repairman asks, when QSG? Unfortunately, the answer is probably never. And the reason is because we're pretty limited by the standard Tokyo Marui design gearbox shell. The TSG barely works. And by barely, I mean it works fine on semi, it works fine in full auto. Premature engagement is not a problem, but undervoluming is a serious problem that you can run into if you try to push your barrel past 200 millimeters. So really, QSG is not going to work just for the voluming reason alone, but then you start looking at the pre-engagement reason, and then it starts to look really dicey, and then also you got to figure out how to get it to function in semi-auto, and a lot of MOSFETs that have a motion sensor trigger or a light sensor trigger to detect the sector gear teeth, it might not even be able to cycle in semi just because these sectors would be so close together, and they would only have about 3 teeth each. That would probably be your voluming problem right there. So just for a lot of reasons, it's just completely impractical. Besides, we just got the TSG concept working, so let's be happy with that for a little bit. Cal Saman asks, how do you feel about 3D printing taking a big take in Airsoft? So if you don't already know, I have a 3D printer, and I've been having a ton of fun with it ever since I've had it. And obviously, since I am into Airsoft and I have a 3D printer, then that means I'm going to 3D print things for my Airsoft guns. Now, 3D printing is pretty limited on its own, just inherently because of the plastic that is used is fairly weak and doesn't really take stress very well, especially repeated stress. So, that alone limits 3D printing applications for Airsoft, and where it's most relevant is in external parts, where the most abuse is kind of what you put on it. There's almost no application for internal parts whatsoever. If there is, it would be something that takes almost zero stress at all. I've not even 3D printed anything for an internal component. Everything I've printed is external. So for example, I find great use in 3D printing amplifiers. Super easy to print. You can print them in whatever kind of thickness you want with however much infill pattern you want and percentage of infill, so you can kind of tweak it to be as durable as you want, and then you have a functional amplifier. It doesn't really have to be a stressed part, so it's just functional on its own right. And then another thing too is that you can 3D print grips fairly easily as well. So this grip here has a lot of layer height to it and a lot of wall thickness to it and a high amount of infill. So that means that it's just really, really strong. And I don't have any fears of this breaking, but let's say that I were to do the same thing and print a piston. Well, the durability thing is a problem. It's just not going to be as durable. And then the next problem is that 3D printers, at least the one I have, cannot print at such a high level of precision that would actually be functional for an internal component. So for now, 3D printing is pretty limited to just external components. So I'm going to stick to grips, amplifiers, and mock suppressors for now with 3D printing. But in the future, who knows? 3D printing could really take a kind of stand in Airsoft. And just to kind of go on another little tangent, you do have metal 3D printers, and those things are significantly more expensive, and they do function a little bit differently than standard plastic FDM printers or even SLA printers do. But the TSG gear is 3D printed metal, and that works fantastically. It just wouldn't work at all if it were plastic. Zach Roberts asks, what's the main point of a DSG or a TSG, since no one really wants 50 RPS to the body? So there's many reasons why one might want to build a TSG or a DSG as opposed to a single stroke sector gear build or an SSG build. I would say almost never is it because somebody wants to light somebody up in full auto. That's never been the case for me. Never want to hurt anybody. But that might be the case for some people. I've just never met them. 9 times out of 10, the reason why I prefer a DSG or TSG over an SSG is just because the trigger response is significantly better. Just a significantly snappier system. It is unreal, the difference between a DSG and TSG, and compare that to an SSG. The trigger response is uncomparable. It's so much better. So a lot of speed softers, a lot of people like me who play a lot of indoor but wouldn't necessarily consider themselves a speed softer, will use a DSG or a TSG just because the trigger response alone gives them a significant advantage. And anyway, most indoor facilities won't even let you play on full auto anyway. So there's really no point to having a high RPS gun just to hurt somebody, or just because you want that kind of advantage, because most fields won't let you have it anyway. But yeah, long story short, DSGs and TSGs just give you significantly better trigger response and significantly better efficiency.
Malachi Catlin asks, what are some tips for accuracy in getting 230 to 250 feet-ish accurately in a DMR, aside from barrel polishing, R-hop, and barrel shimming? Can a polymer gun body get as precise as a full metal?
So first of all, there should be no performance difference between the externals being plastic or metal. There just should be no performance difference as long as the quality of the externals is at least decent enough to not throw off your internal components. If that's okay, then your performance should be okay, and it should all be internal. Now, how do you achieve the best accuracy possible? The way I always approach this scenario or this project is work my way from the rear of the gun forward. And what I mean by that is start with your gearbox shell. Make sure your FPS consistency and air seal and compression is just as perfect as it can possibly be. So the reason I do this is because if you can get as perfect of an FPS consistency as possible, let's say you're shooting for 500 FPS out of your semi-auto DMR. Well, if every single shot is 497, 500, 497, 498, 501, if it's within such a tight parameter, then every single shot is going to be extraordinarily precise and is going to be consistent off the previous BB. So your shot-to-shot accuracy is going to be very good. So if you start there, work your way forward, finalizing all that good FPS and compression issue stuff, you can then move on to the hop-up chamber. From there, you're looking at R-hop, flat hop, you can do ER hop, you can do top-down center mods, you can polish your barrel, you can lap your barrel, you can buy an extraordinarily nice 6.03 PDI or Prometheus barrel and lap it as well. You can shim your barrel to the outer barrel by wrapping it in thin tape and kind of pressing it up against the outer barrel so there's as little wobble as possible. You can do a top-down center mod, like I said, where the pressure applied to the hop-up bucking is as consistent as it possibly can be. You can use heavyweight BBs. You can go down this whole trail of getting the best accuracy that you can possibly get, and by doing this, you can fairly easily reach out to 250 feet, no problem at all, given the FPS or your spring strength is strong enough to push that BB that far. Alright guys, that's all the time I have today for Airsoft Tech Talk Q&A. I apologize if I didn't get around to your question. I try to choose the most popular questions every single video, but sometimes there are a couple that I find interesting that might not be as popular as the others, but I still do my best to address the most popular ones first. If you want to get your question featured in this next coming video of Airsoft Tech Talk Q&A, I will make a community post. It's usually just a picture of something on my desk at the time, asking you to ask me questions for Airsoft Tech Talk Q&A. Again, upvote your favorites, and hopefully it'll get featured on the next episode of Airsoft Tech Talk Q&A. But thank you guys for watching this video. I greatly appreciate it. If you haven't already, please subscribe and please like and comment on this video. Address my answers to the questions. If you feel like I am incorrect in any capacity on answering these questions, please leave your comment down below and we will discuss it. Also, if you haven't already, please go check out the Teespring store. There are a couple cool shirts there that are Airsoft Tech themed that I think you guys might like. All proceeds go directly to this channel so that we can help it grow. But again, thank you very much for watching. That's going to have to do it for this video. I will see you guys in the next video of whatever the heck I'm doing. But until then, stay tuned, techs.